I've grappled with a question. If I have faith in God, then why do certain events seem to be so heartbreaking and sorrowful? In my quiet times, God gave me 2 words for that. Jesus wept. In John chapter 11, Lazarus, the brother of Mary and Martha, died. When Jesus arrived 4 days after Lazarus died and talked with Mary, he was so moved by her and felt the depth of her grief that he broke down in tears. Jesus wasn't distraught that Lazarus had died or that he would never see him again. He was God. He knew everything. His plan was to bring Lazarus back to life. Jesus wept because he loved Mary and felt her pain. Your heart can be totally shattered, and your faith can be the mighty fortress that you rely upon. This is my story of how my faith has carried me. On Saturday, September 28th, 2019, my life was permanently changed. It started out as any normal late summer Saturday. I was trimming around the pond, and Kathy was doing stuff in the house. I had asked her earlier in the week to have a date Saturday evening. We were both looking forward to it. Our youngest daughter, Audrey, went with her boyfriend and his mom to Starbucks, and we headed out to Texas Roadhouse in Goldsboro. We had a great date. I remember how much she smiled and how we laughed together. We also looked for a flight for her so she could join me on a business trip I have to take in a few months. She found an amazing deal on a flight and asked me if she should book it. For some reason, God impressed it upon me to just wait. I told Kathy to hold off since it was non-refundable and we could get it when we were sure about the trip. We finished the meal and had a great time. All she did was smile. Once we got home, Audrey called and said they were going back to her boyfriend's house since his mom wasn't feeling well. Kathy said that was fine and she would pick her up shortly. Well, the time came for Kathy to go get her, so out the door she went. Little did I know. I stayed home since I was pretty tired from spending hours trimming around the pond. Kathy was taking her time getting home. I wasn't worried because we've known that family for over 14 years, so I just knew they were visiting. There was a new baby in the house, so Kathy was probably holding the baby or talking with the family. I do remember hearing sirens in the distance. They sounded different. It was like I knew they were for me. They faded in the distance, and I didn't give it another thought. A short time later, 2 highway patrolmen, cruisers, they came screaming by the house, lights blaring, flying. It must have been doing 80 to 100. They were just moving. They never come down this road, not like that, not that fast. I pulled my phone out and checked the Life 360 app. It showed Kathy and Audrey at the end of the road not moving. We have seen that app before have some inconsistencies, so I decided I would drive down there and see what was up. I figured I would pass them on the road and have to explain why I was going looking for them. I left the house to make the 1.5-mile drive to where the app said they were. I was the only car on the road. When I got there, I could see fire trucks with the spotlights up in the air, and both the highway patrolmen were there that had passed the house. I thought no wonder they can't get by, so I pulled up behind the cruisers to turn around. When my headlights landed on the back of Kathy's van, which was on its side in someone's yard. My heart sank, and I started to shake a little. I immediately stopped the car and got out. I walked up loudly proclaiming, "That's my wife's van." Pointing at it, "That was my wife's van." They looked at me horrified. I asked what happened and are they okay? The officers met me before I could get to it, and all they would say was, "You need to get to the hospital." As I was walking back to the car, And some of you saw this. I posted on Facebook that my family needs prayers immediately. The next thing I did when I got to the car was I called Kathy's parents and told them there was a wreck and that I was headed to the hospital. I remember calling on the Lord, but I don't remember what I said. When I arrived at Johnson Memorial Hospital, my nerves were shot. I was visibly shaking now. I asked to see my wife and little girl, and they said they had no one there by that name. I had to take a deep breath and ask them if they had anyone from that wreck near Micro. The lady said that she had heard about the wreck. She looked some things up and said Audrey was at Wake Med. So out the door I went on a mission. But I only had one question. Why did she only mention Audrey? Audrey must be conscious and Kathy's not, but they will be fine, I thought. On my way to Wake Med, I realized I was low on gas, so I stopped by my mom's house, and we took her car to Wake Med. When I got to the ER, I told them I was there to see Audrey Ives. They immediately pulled me and my mom into a family room. This doesn't feel good. Why do I need to be in here? Why is there a social worker and a chaplain in here? A doctor came in. She was kind and caring as she explained my little girl's injuries. She had a broken pelvis and some blood on her brain. The doctor made it sound like she would be okay. What about my wife, I asked. The doctor looked at me and calmly said she did not make it. Nothing can prepare you to hear that. There's no way. I don't know if I went numb or if I shut down. I couldn't fit that in my head. Did I just hear what I thought I heard? They allowed me to go see Audrey. They told me she was a little incoherent because of the bump to her head and the pain meds. She asked me where her mother was. I told her she was at a different hospital and that she was at that hospital because they could treat her better. Kathy's Uncle Danny and my brother Jeff arrived before we were moved up to the PICU, the Pediatric Intensive Care Unit. Danny asked if Kathy's parents knew yet. I said they were on the way and I could not tell them that on the phone. Danny and Robin took the dismal task of telling her parents when they arrived at my house. I still had to tell our daughters. Once we were in the PICU, Rodney, Gary and Luann, and Lisa arrived. The doctors came to tell me they needed to do another CT scan on Audrey. When they left, I called Madison and told her they were in a wreck. I asked her to come to Wake Med. As it turns out, she was at the beach with some friends, and it would be quite some time before she could get here. I made the excruciating decision to tell her about her mother over the phone. I lost it when I told her. She was really sweet as she tried to console me. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I composed myself and rejoined my family and friends. The doctors came to get me after the CT scan. The blood spot on Audrey's brain had doubled in size since she arrived, and they needed to do brain surgery right then. As the doctor was explaining the risk to me, I lost it again. I told him she doesn't even know her mother's gone, and now I have to sign this kind of paperwork for her. They were trying to console me as she was taken away. When we arrived in the waiting room for surgery, I checked in and took a seat. Friends and coworkers came to offer hugs and support. I sat there trying to come to grips with the fact that just a few hours before I was having a wonderful date with my amazing wife, and now I'm a widower, praying that his little girl comes out of brain surgery just fine. As I sat there grappling with how drastically, suddenly, and violently my life has changed, I knew God would use this and do something beautiful with it. He is perfect, He does all things well. If this was his will for me and my family, then I would not change it. I don't say that lightly. I've lost a lot. I'll never see Kathy again or hear her laugh or hold her hand. Just because I'm a Christian does not mean I'm immune from suffering. When Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were thrown into the fiery furnace, God did not snatch them out, even though he could have. He joined them. He was not going to take this burden off of me, but he was going to help me endure it. When the surgery was over, the doctor came out and told us that it went very well. They moved Audrey and all of us back up to the PICU. We were told to limit visitors and TV as they wanted no brain stimulation. I asked if I could tell her about her mom, and they said it would be better to wait. For the next few hours, we limited visitors and tried to make sure she could rest. I went home to get clothes and toiletries, and on the way back, my brother's wife, Lisa, called and said that she's asking about her mom and asking for me. I asked Lisa if Maddie and Lexi were there. Lisa said yes, so I told her to tell them that we're going to tell Audrey when I get there. Once I arrived, we immediately went to Audrey's room. I wept when I told her. She's already been through so much, and now I've just dropped another bomb on her. It was excruciating. Over the next few days, Audrey would improve greatly and impress people with her toughness. A wonderful and very kind friend provided me with a hotel room at the top of the hospital. I tried to do a quiet time every day. The first few days, the only thing I could say was, Lord. It's all I could get out of my mouth. It's all I had. But I knew he understood because I am his child. When I was able to actually get the words I wanted to say out, it felt like I was in his lap, and his hands were holding me. I felt an amazing sense of peace. I knew I would never be the same. When something of this magnitude happens, you have to trust and rely on him. But that won't be easy if you have not nurtured and built that relationship. Make no mistake, for several days after the wreck, I was in a dark, dismal, and lonely place. But my faith never wavered, and I never questioned God. But a loss of this magnitude will send a ripple effect through your life. It will change how you see and experience things. It could even change your walk with God. For me, it has drawn me even closer to him. He knows what he's doing, and he does all things well. God has been changing my focus from that one horrible day when I lost my Kathy to all the other days where life made an impact and lifted me or someone else up. I was doing my quiet time, and he told me, you're stuck on one day. She lived 48 and a half years. So I'm OCD enough, I went and did the math. That's 17,722 days. Half of those days were with me. And there were a lot of good days in there. To be quite honest, I'm the man I am today in my walk with the Lord because of her. Shortly after we started dating, she asked me to go see a play called Heaven's Gates, Hell's Flames. It was there God really confronted me, and I surrendered to him. Kathy's invitation started my journey of faith that is now my strength to endure and handle this. From that day on, I have sought God and pursued an ever deeper walk with him. It's the little things that have the biggest impact. An invitation or a kind gesture could be the seed that God uses in someone's life. And because of Kathy's faithfulness and desire to be his hands and his feet, her life is still impacting people today. I have people tell me all the time what she has done for them, what we've done for them, the example that she has set. And I'm very grateful to have had her for the 24 years I did. Thank you.